And we're live. Welcome everybody to the Q&A session brought to you, sponsored by the Patreons of the Redman Group channel. Huge, massive special thanks to you guys that support the creation of our content. I've just posted the join link. I see we just had somebody join us. Hey, what's up, Alex?
Hey, how are you doing?
How you doing, man?
Good, sir.
Yeah, I just posted the join link on the Patreon page for those guys that have been supporting us. We're going to broadcast this live to the entire channel. But if you want to join on as a Patreon and ask questions of the Redman Group panel, or just kind of hang out there and watch, that's cool too. Apologies for yesterday. I know that there was a bunch of guys that were watching and waiting for us to launch yesterday. Probably my fault. I created the event, and when you create the event on YouTube, it's really bizarre because even though you can select the day being tomorrow, which was the 1st of February, it sometimes defaults back to same day. So I saved it, and it's saved for Thursday instead of Friday. But anyway, here we are. So I apologize. But here we are live. So it's a straight up Q&A session, guys. We've got the chat open over to the right. Let's kind of catch up on what's been going on, because the three of us haven't been on together for a month, as founders of the Redman Group channel. We've obviously met in Orlando in the last week, and you guys have seen the promo video. I know it went out on Anthony's channel, and the tickets are now available for the Patriarch event for fathers. Yep. Anthony, give us a rundown on the Patriarch event. What's the vision here again?
Yeah, man, hell yeah. So you guys just left Orlando. That was fucking awesome. Fishing, shooting, all kinds of Lambo stuff. Girls, soap, lots of fun stuff. Patriarch event, though, is the first event of 2019. It's a special event. Like, we've also done the Under 21 convention, a special event for young men. The Patriarch convention, or the 21 convention Patriarch edition, is a special event for fathers. It's designed for fathers and young men who want to be fathers. You're welcome to attend. So, for example, I'm not a father, but if I was not building this convention, I would buy a ticket and go. I do want to become a father someday and build a family, and this is the exact event you want to go to do that, or set yourself up in the future to do that, in a culture that is completely aligned against you doing that successfully today. So it's a convention for fathers, for grandfathers, and young men who want to become fathers someday. So the whole conference is going to be just like 21Con, except it's very tightly focused on fatherhood itself, of course, but also marriage, parenting, divorce, everything related to that these days. And it's a little bit shorter too. It's a 2-day event plus a 3rd day that's bonus. The main convention is always a lot longer. It's like huge. It's easy to get to, easy to get out, have a really awesome time.
Do you know what you're speaking on, Rollo? Like what your topic is?
No, actually, no, not yet. I'm tossing around a few different ideas. It's kind of nice to have the freedom to do it, because usually Anthony hits me up and says, "Hey, this is what I think you should talk about at the 21 convention." I'm like, oh God, I can actually do something myself. Yeah, I don't know yet. I saw a guy in the Twitter. On the Twitters, asked me if there was going to be something for daughters, like fathers and daughters. I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know if I can dedicate an entire speech to that, but as you know, the first third of the book of my third book, Positive Masculinity, is dedicated to red pill parenting. So I'm probably going to dig into that kind of stuff. Just like what you can do in this day and age for, in our gynocentric, society or whatever. I think a lot of guys are looking for answers, if not like some sort of program. Again, I don't usually give like prescriptions, but I wouldn't mind sort of raising some awareness and then giving some suggestions. So I think I might go along with that thing.
Cool. And oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and then as far as what I've got going on, besides the 4th book, which I'm still, trying to carve out as much time as I possibly can for. This week the State of the Manosphere address finally dropped. So that was really good, and I was in the premiere chat room and answering questions and just hanging out. And actually, I was very impressed with the final product. I thought it was really good. I'd only seen it on my computer or on my iPad, but I went and just clicked it on my Apple TV and watched it on my 70-inch TV out in the living room, and it was just like watching a TED Talk. I was very impressed. Remember how I told. I was gonna say, remember how I told you? Yeah, that's another thing. Is Pat Campbell was saying that, man, you're a whole lot more comfortable than you were last one. I'm like, yeah,
Big time.
Yep.
it's because, and it's from doing this really. You know, I'm certainly not a motivational speaker. I don't do speaking tours or anything like that, but like, well, I'm doing it a whole lot more now, you know, now that we're doing this kind of thing. I've got my own channel now, and I've already got one of these in the can, and this one was a whole lot easier. I think I was probably better prepared for this one than I was for the first year as well, because I didn't know what to expect, and this time I did know what to expect. And so like when I went up in 2017, I was especially for my first one, I was nervous as hell, man.
Yeah.
And I just was going to go out there and put out the information and be good with it. But then I'm like, I kind of relaxed a little bit. And the next day I did another one. It was more like a Q&A. And anybody who knows what my speaking style is like, I like to get interaction from people so that we can sort of have carry this conversation out. Cause that's where that's where I do my best thinking, is when we're in that kind of forum or in the round, so to speak. And I thought it came out really, really well. I wasn't fumbling around for words or anything. I knew what I was going to talk about because I've been preparing for it. I mean, I've been preparing for it for months, but I think probably up to the last like 4 or 5 days, even when I was at the event, you know, right before, I was digging and doing the work. So I thought it paid off. I think it came out pretty well. And so if anybody hasn't seen that yet, you can go get that it's on 21 Studios, right?
Yes, sir.
We can put a link to it somewhere.
Absolutely.
I thought that was fantastic. And then also, I don't know if Anthony, did you say this already? We did a promo shoot for the
let me hop in on that one. So I think
we should throw that out there. Yeah.
I published the trailer today on RMG, the 4K cinematic trailer for the Patriarch Edition event. And yesterday, of course, on 21 Studios and stuff. And I'm looking at it, and having been in the manosphere for this long, since 2005, 2006, I'm pretty sure we just put out, and all of us participated in filming it, the highest quality, production quality video like ever published in the manosphere for what that was.
Oh, for sure.
That was I saw that being built, live. Obviously, we filmed it, and then the editing I got to watch, and I was just like, holy shit. And the comments have been just like that all over all the channels, on Twitter, on YouTube, on websites and stuff. It's pretty wild.
Yeah,
so I'm really happy people enjoyed it.
You know, it's funny, is I was expecting all of this shit talking to start as soon as we were done with that.
Yeah.
Or as soon as it came out, and I haven't seen too many people put out too many negative comments about it.
It's like 90-10. There's some people trolling, like, oh, this is so
that's always going to happen. But man, it's like it has been like almost unanimously positive.
What I really liked about it is all of us involved with it, and then the editing phase too. It was like 100% masculine and 0% apologetic, even though some of it was kind of tongue in cheek and like really over the top, but there was very congruent and like super like just to the point for what we wanted to do. I thought it was just fucking beautiful. Came out really good.
And then that was the first time I was ever in a Lamborghini. Not gonna lie, first time. I'm glad Rich was driving too.
Rich caught the audio on that. On that. Yeah.
That car is scary fucking fast. It's like it's like snap your neck kind of acceleration fast.
Oh, I feel like that. I gotta put you in the passenger seat of a McLaren. You'd shit your pants, man. I drove a 720S, and those things are probably like a third faster than that Lambo that we were in.
Wow, that was
really quick.
Cool. And then you were saying that Lambo was only like about 70 grand. Is that what you said?
Oh yeah, you can buy those. Well, that's an LP 570. I think it was a 570 or a 560. It's one of the two. But you can grab those for about 100, 110, 120. A Gallardo, which is pretty much the same body style with a little less aero, or you can buy them used for like 70 grand. They're not that expensive. But I mean, like the e-gear shit, like that transmission, like you'd notice when you would shift, it would snap your head back, and it's quite rough. Like it's not a nice shifting transmission. It's very brutal, which is cool, because I mean, you want that savagery when you're driving a Lambo. You want, I mean, like you want that out of it. I mean, it's all pomp and circumstance, right?
I drove it around downtown on one of the last nights we had it, and people were just so triggered, positively negative.
Oh yeah,
screaming at you, rental or some shit. It's like, fuck you, man. Where's your fucking car?
Do you remember? And this was just funny. This is when me and when me and Rich were in the Lamborghini, we were at a stop sign. I think it was like some college guys were like, "It is rented." It wasn't, and of course, and it does. It triggers people out. I almost think it like almost think it's more triggering that it is like attractive. But
You know what's interesting though is I'm looking at renting helicopters next for the next shoot. So we'll see how that goes.
that's not too hard to
Helicopters,
do.
jets, whatever, right?
That's
You
not
know,
too hard to do in Florida.
we'll go
Yeah.
full on Dan Bilzerian. We got a couple
Fuck yeah.
super chats here. Thanks to Sid Khan for the $2 yo-yo. Thank you. And we have another one from Not a Giraffe. A colleague of mine got married last year and her husband took her what the hell?
Mhm.
A colleague of mine got married last year and her husband took her last name. What a cuck. Turns out it was because his ex-wife still had his last name. Thoughts? I just said what my thoughts were. You guys, do you have any thoughts?
You know, what's funny is like I used to think that
It
was
happens.
like kind of yeah, well, of course it does. I used to think that a guy taking a woman's last name was just sort of this rarity. It was just like the guy had to be like super cucked and he had to be super like feminine, or it was like it's beyond like the egalitarian dream, like, oh, we're gonna be 50-50. It's not. The guy is just like, you know, you're the dominant person. You might as well just say my wife is the dominant personality in our
Well, he's virtue
relationship. So
signaling in that case.
Yeah.
Like
Yes,
hardcore.
because at that point it's like I decided to be a wife. That's what basically you'll make a good wife. That's what you're gonna make.
Yeah, basically it's like a Mr. Mom. Okay, brothers, we've got some Patreons live on us with right now. So Armando, Alex, kind of like a straight up Q&A show. Did you guys have any questions you wanted to pose to the panel or anything you guys want to discuss before I go to the chat? You can just unmute yourself.
Thanks.
Hey, okay, good. Alex is all good. What about you, Armando? You got anything? You're good? All right. If you have anything that comes up, just interrupt us or put it in the group broadcast chat. I'm going to go to this question here about menopause. James Gunn says, hey guys, how do you deal with menopause? It really is called the change for a reason. Things get messy and my wife ran off and left during her premenopausal phase. It seems quite common. I don't have any experience with a woman at that phase because I don't go that old. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that.
Everybody's gonna look at me right now.
Rollo?
Everybody's gonna look at me. This sounds like a question for Rollo.
This sounds like a Rollo question.
I actually have a post here, and it's called "The Fog of Menopause," and I'm about to post the link in the chat here.
Drop the truth bomb.
Second. And there you go. Okay, so if you're looking for something on menopause, that's what I've written. A lot of weird shit happens at menopause, as you have probably guessed. One of the things that I think guys need to understand when a woman hits there's two phases of menopause. There's perimenopausal, and then there's menopausal, and then there's after menopause. So when a woman goes into that state, which is perimenopausal, is when she's starting to like stop ovulating, when she's run out of eggs, and it's just sort of like the dry, empty husks of eggs falling on the ground, like poof. But what happens is what the thing is like a lot of weird shit happens with them, because you got to understand that there's a hormonal aspect of it, and all of the regularity of menopause is replaced by, it's almost like a woman's body doesn't know what to do with itself, and as a result women don't know what to do with themselves. So women can have a lot of, especially in the perimenopausal phase, they can have a lot of different reactions. I used to think that, well, when a woman gets to menopause, she just loses interest in sex and she's just decided that she wants to be retired, and that's all there's going to be to it. And she's, you're especially like in my situation, my wife is perimenopausal right now, right? But my wife is like horny as fuck, and it's fucking great, man, I tell you. But I don't know. I mean, maybe that's because my wife is in really good shape and she keeps herself that way, right?
This sounds like toxic masculinity to me, Rollo.
Yeah. Oh, how dare he talk about his wife like that? But I find that well, because here's the other thing is when women go into, and this is another thing guys don't really think of, when women go into menopause, they go off of birth control. And for some women, it's like the first time they've been off birth control in maybe like 20 or 30 years. Like maybe they went off birth control to have their kids and then they went back on it. And so for a brief moment, like they were actually like a normal woman, because most women today, they maybe they're in their teens, I guess, maybe like their late teens, and they start going on birth control, or right around the time that they want to sort of regulate. A lot of women will say, "Oh, I'm going on birth control because I want to regulate my ovulatory cycle." Okay, fine, but they start at that age, and then they go through their 20s, probably up into their early 30s, and which is, late 20s, early 30s is when women tend to have their babies, if they're going to have them at all. And then so they have to go off. And then at that point, it's like they change. You know, you have to understand the chemical imbalances that happen because of fucking with estrogen and progesterone, and there's actually two different kinds of hormonal birth control. I don't want to dig too deep into it, but there's different chemicals that happen. I actually read about this in the book by Marty Hasselton. It's called Hormonal, and she goes into how women's bodies changes when they're on their ovulatory shift, anyways, what it looks like when they're on hormonal birth control, and when they come off of it, and then when they go back on it again, because you kind of shift like your women shift their feelings a little bit more when they have to go back onto that the birth control. And then so think about it this way, like, say for instance, and this is just averages here, a woman has her kids, and let's just say she's like late 20s or early 30s, then she goes back on it again, and then let's say that she says, okay, I'm done having kids, I've had 2 of them, I'm going to go back on hormonal birth control. Then she's on hormonal birth control right up until she's like maybe 48, 49 years old, maybe even 47. It depends on when the onset of menopause happens. And now they've been on birth control probably more than half as long as they've been alive. So they're used to this kind of physical state. Like, remember how you guys were talking about how when you guys went on testosterone replacement therapy, and how you felt before that and how you felt after you started it?
Yeah, well, they have a version of that for women too. Like the endocrinologist that he's not an endocrinologist. I mean, he's a doctor that specializes in this practice. But every time I've been there, like 2/3 of the people that I see going in and out of those doors, like his patients, are women. So a lot of women try to balance their hormones when they hit menopause through hormone replacement therapy. But I'll be honest with you, I think it's a lot more effective for men than what it is for women, because you can see a stark difference between the men and the women. And even though there might be some improvement, or maybe they feel better, they sleep better, they just don't look as good as the dudes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that what I was just going to say is, like, when you get off of hormonal birth control, you kind of revert back to your normal self. But the thing that sucks is, like, now you're in menopause. So you go from being on hormonal birth control to being in whatever state menopause, imposes on a woman. Now, the other thing about menopause that guys need to understand is that women have vitamin deficiencies. That's when they're at a higher risk of osteoporosis. There's a whole bunch of immunity system like deficits that happen at that point. It's almost like nature is giving up on an unviable woman at that state. And so to keep, because remember, women could, an old woman could get, past menopause, but then in, our tribal past, she had to become like one of the elders. She had to have some other value to her besides her capacity to have kids or to be somewhat, sexually viable. So you've got that aspect that's playing in on women's psychology, because they don't, for the most part, at least is from what I've heard, because I've not experienced this yet, but maybe I will. But women are supposed to be, retired from sex at that point. They're just say, you know what, I'm done. But they're going to be, these grandmotherly, matronly women, which I think societally right now, we kind of shit on those women. We don't want them, we think that they're judgmental, or, they're not there. We don't have that same, we have the strong, independent woman narrative has replaced the you're a wizened old woman narrative. So
hang on, let me just mute Michael there. He came on with his microphone on. Got him. Thanks.
So I remember that I read that post. I actually go into a lot of the hormonal side of things, but you got to understand that our hormones and our endocrinology, basically our like dopamine, our endorphins and stuff like that. All that changes when you get to that particular age. Shit changes when you get old. What can you do?
Something you just said really stood out to me, Roland. I haven't thought about it before, but I think the strong, independent woman narrative is obviously like against motherhood. It undermines it, or kind of makes fun of it, or makes it second class. That, of course, though, spills over into grandmotherhood, kind of like DDJ and the extended family stuff talks about, multi-generational mentorship.
Right.
What are your thoughts on the single motherhood epidemic we see today? And those girls, of course, their daughters are going to be single mothers too, in a lot of cases. Basically, you're going to see like grandmothers who are like they were single mothers since 23 years old. Like, where do you think is how are we going to see that play out in terms of
it's
like
playing out right now. I mean, I see it all
Yeah.
the time. There's lots of women that have a
Yeah.
single mother, grandmother, and daughter. It's dude,
Right.
it's out
Crazy.
there.
It's multi-generational.
Yeah, like it's
I
already
mean, they don't
happening
even.
right now.
What's funny is they don't even realize that that's kind of an anomaly. They don't. You know, in our evolutionary past, we lived in tribal clutches. You know, tribal peer groups, kind of thing, and even then, that sort of gave way to the nuclear family. But even the nuclear family was still nuclear families that were surrounding. I mean, this of course depends on ethnicity and acculturation and stuff like that. But like usually, it was a nuclear family, separate nuclear families that were all part of one like last name. Right. And now we've thrown all that shit out the window again because of hormonal birth control. So women can be single mothers. We encourage that. The stigma that was there for a woman to be a single mother, like it used to be very shameful. I've said this countless times. It used to be very shameful, but we've completely flipped that script. It's empowering to be a single mother. I think I forget where I read this, but I read an article about a woman whose mother had raised her as a single mother, and then she was looking forward. This was the article was written. She was looking forward to meeting her husband so she could divorce him, so that she could raise whatever kid they had as a single mother too, because she wanted to follow in her mom's footsteps. I mean, that was the degree of just. It's hard not to say that that's misandry, but I get it, but. I think that you just simply don't know any better. I think that it's reinforced and it's rewarded in this mentality.
There's a movie that I saw on the flight down. The hell was it called? The Backup Plan or Plan B? The one with Jennifer Lopez. Have you seen it?
I think it might have been called Plan B.
Oh, she's like someone's trying to kill her or something, right?
Well, she's like really 51 in real life, but I think in the movie she plays like a 39-year-old woman or something like that. And you know, she wants to find the right guy and settle down because she's a career chick. Buys a pet store and she's this good wholesome chick that just couldn't find the right guy. You know, he just eluded her, so she gets in vitro or a sperm donor. And like the whole thing, I had to shut it off after 30 minutes. But I'm trying to watch it with the lens of, okay, let's see what they're doing and how they're telling a story. And it's like, you know, they're trying to make her this strong, independent, and she's a popular person. Like Jennifer Lopez is a popular chick. Like she's put out a lot of music. She's got an audience. She probably has a large social following. And for her to put out a movie where she stars as this strong, independent single mother, you know, pulling it off with a sperm donor. To me anyway, it just sends a crazy message out there that, hey, ladies, you can go do it too. And, you know, I'm sure there's a bunch of women that saw that and like, yeah, let's go to the sperm clinic.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think the day is coming where we see porno called Grandmother's Gone Wild.
Oh, it's already out there. I guarantee that there's a genre for that.
You know, it's funny.
For it.
And this was before I met either of you guys, but I wrote this one post. And I think it was called "Wife Sex" or "Wife Porn," and I had to write a post about it because there was I think this was back in like 2012 or 2013. There was it might still be popular now, but there was a niche of porn that was really popular because it was a guy comes home from work and his wife is there and his wife is hot. And his wife is like wearing like lingerie and she's got like food ready for him, you know, like a normal, like what we would think of as a normal, what we'd hope for would be a normal marriage, right? You know, a guy comes home and she's there and she's hot and it's something and it becomes a niche porn because nobody does it anymore because it's not like, you know, midgets having anal sex or something like that. I mean, it's like, you know, just regular people having sex, and it's like this relationship where the woman is really into the guy and the guy's really into her, and that is almost a fetish right now. It's a fetish to have that kind of normality and enough to create a branch of pornography.
Well, it's like healthy relationships like that are being eradicated from the culture. So
yeah,
in a way, it's weird, but it's not too surprising, right?
Yeah. You know what I was going to ask you though, is like in that movie that you're talking about there, Rich.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is a common fantasy. I think I'm kind of noticing as a pattern here is there's a lot of guys who think that if they get laid, they're getting lucky. Like it's like some sort of twist of fate, or like, you know,
it is called getting lucky, right?
Yeah, that's what they call it. Well, why is that? Why do they call it getting lucky? Because we've mythologized women's sexuality to be something that only like God can give you, you know, like,
Well,
like
that's where the putting the
cloud
women up on a
part.
pedestal.
Yeah,
comes
and
from,
then
right?
that is
Too
part of
many
it.
dudes
But
still do that.
okay, so that's the guy side of it. But what you
Mhm.
were just watching on the flight down in that movie is sort of a new twist on that, where women say, well, the fates didn't align for me and I couldn't find Mr. Right. So they're actually relying on that mythology of like, well, the gods didn't smile upon me and grant me with a husband. It's never they never look inside. It's never insight. It's never, why am I still 38 years old and I'm single, or you know, and I'm childless and I'm, you know, drinking box wine on the weekends. It's never this like introspection. It's always, well, things didn't work out for me. I guess you know, the dice rolled and I got fucked, you know. And it's like, there's never any kind of there's never personal accountability for it, of course. But I think that it's interesting that women are now starting to rely on this idea that it was fate that fucked them rather than themselves that fucked them. And it's the same thing I always tell guys. It's like when we call it lucky, it's like, no, you didn't get lucky. You happen to be in the right place at the right time. Yes. But you had the right combination of whatever it was that woman was looking for, and that you happened to arouse her. And, you know, assuming you didn't know game, you didn't fuck it up. And so you got laid. There was a certain set of conditions that led to you getting laid that didn't have anything to do with luck. It's just that those were the things that you had going for you at that particular time. Well, same thing with women. It's like, I want to say, well, you know, I wasn't lucky enough in love to find a husband, so now I guess I'm going to have to go to a sperm bank and have kids on my own, that kind of thing. And it's this post facto rationalization. Of course, we always talk about the, you know, women's rationalization hamsters, but I think it's interesting that they are now relying on that twist of fate mythology that a lot of guys have been relying on. It's the Disney thing, you know, that, oh, well, the stars will come one day, my prince will come, you know, that kind of shit.
I'll tell you what, I mean, Anthony, I think you've probably noticed this too. I'd love to hear your viewpoint, but I've met enough women now that have been raised by single mothers, or hatched out of a petri dish or a sperm donor, where, like, you know, I always say, you know, more problems in a Chinese you know, like more red flags in a Chinese Communist parade, but it just seems, you know, to be that those two things always go hand in hand, right? I mean, if you're going to try to raise a child by a girl by herself without a man around, these women don't have a lot of respect for men. They don't value masculinity. They don't value masculine virtues. You know, they're usually feminists. They usually have feminist tendencies. They always play the victim because a mother played the victim. You know, quite often there's a lot of stories about, like, you know, well, your dad just ran off and left, but I've never heard a woman say, well, my mom ran him off, you know, or, you know, like divorce raped him and alienated him from me when I was a kid growing up. I mean, you've never heard that narrative yet. I've coached hundreds of men now that have been going through this divorce machine. And, you know, the common theme is they often alienate the father from the kids.
I was actually talking with one of, or how did you want to finish it up?
No, I just wanted to hear your view on it and your experience down in Florida.
Yeah. So I was actually, what comes to mind first is I was having a conversation this morning with one of my guys here in Orlando at 21 Studios, and we're talking about George Bruno. And I called him on the ticket page for the Patriarch, the most interesting man in the manosphere. But on top of that, he's one of the best guys I know. He's like an awesome fucking human being and an awesome man. And for him to be removed from his children's life, I think in a fashion like you're talking about, that the father being run off, you know, literally chased out of their life when he's an awesome fucking dude. It's disgusting. Like, it's disturbing to see that. And who knows what kind of lies are being spun to those kids, which is really common, I'm sure, with the guys you work with too.
Yeah, I mean, the shitty part is there's a financial incentive for the mother to run off the father and alienate him from the kids, because the more time she has with the kids, the more money she gets from the father. So, you know, the entire family legal system is really systematically designed to remove the father from the children's lives, yet make sure that the legal system milks his financial scenario to, you know, the lowest common denominator. So the mom facilitates her new hypergamy without a man around. It's like, you know, the state becomes, you know, the new head of the household.
Oh, and they fund the alpha fuck side of it.
Totally.
I'll throw this into
stipend.
So not only, of course, is in a single motherhood situation, is like the man being removed, and there's all kinds of conditions with that. There's a lack of like masculine leadership in the house, obviously. Lies are being spun. There's rationalizations running amok. The hamster's like getting, jet fuel thrown on it up its ass or something. But what also comes to mind is that that's also happening now in a culture that, on top of the personal micro stuff, the culture is very hostile to the woman in the first place and teaching her all kinds of fucking feminist nonsense. So where I think we see a counterexample to some degree, not completely, is in South American women. As you know, Rich, I met a Colombian woman recently in Orlando. We were shooting some soap with soap commercials, and she's just, Colombian chick. I don't know her that well, but most of the Colombian women and Brazilian women I meet, even, they have better relationships with their brothers and cousins. They'll go out a lot with them in Orlando. They go out together. They're always with their family, like extended family in Orlando, these bars and stuff. And I can not only talk to the girls and get a gauge of what they think about men, but I can watch them interact with their, like, second cousin or some shit, or first cousin. And everybody's like an uncle. Like I've met multiple Brazilian girls now that are their uncles, hang out with them a lot. Uncles and aunts and all kinds of stuff. They're really in tune with their family. They're kind of like the extended family stuff. But that is an example, like a counterexample of something that offsets, like if parents do get divorced in those cultures, at least the culture around it is not anywhere near as hostile to men and masculinity. And they have positive relationships of men in their lives outside of like an intimate relationship. And America's lacking that in Canada and the West. And that's another like element of the clusterfuck we're seeing with that. And it sucks. It just keeps piling on top of itself endlessly. It's got to stop.
Yeah, it's not getting any better. I mean, like I said, I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. I think there's got to be like a complete breakdown or some shit hitting the fan sort of event, but we haven't seen it yet. Rolo, we got a group chat here from a Patreon in our chat. He says, Rolo, what if you're alpha/red pill aware, but your appearance/physique is incongruent with your character?
Could you somebody wants to talk about that?
Yeah.
Huh?
Could you get put into the friend zone for that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is gonna sound really silly, but it's the best illustration that I can give you. I've had this explained to me like so. This isn't a personal story. When you see a guy who is like really ripped, who's like takes care of himself, and probably even more so, when you see that guy and you see him just walking into the gym or something, you see him, maybe he's not even, you just dressed regularly, whatever, you can tell what his physique is. You can tell, I mean, there's certain like psychological things that we can determine about that guy just based on his appearance. Now this is like, I don't want to go like Joe Navarro's really good at this, picking out the body language and things. Sub communications is what it's called. What is that guy communicating just with his appearance? Tanner Guzzi also talks about this all the time, the appearance of power. So that guy, just by looking at him, you have this mental model in your head about what that guy is probably going to sound like or what he's going to act like, because most guys who are in that kind of shape have a certain character to them. Okay. Well, if you saw that guy and he was wearing like, say, a thong bikini, or he was dressed up like he was going to a gay pride festival, you would have a different opinion of that guy than just what his physique would necessarily tell you. So if you see a guy who's ripped and built, but then like a day later you see him and he's wearing women's high heels or something like that, that's incongruent with what you were expecting of that guy. Now that's the extreme example of this. So now take it in a different direction. If you have a guy who is, semi good looking, maybe he looks like he's in some way an executive, or maybe he's an entrepreneur, maybe whatever. When you first look at that guy, what women have to do is they have to do exactly what I just told you. They have to sort of suss out what they would expect from that guy, what they just by his looks, what do they expect him to, how do they expect him to behave? And if he doesn't have that kind of congruousness with what they think he should look like, or what they think he should act like according to what his looks are, that's what I mean by like an incongruent look with his personality. So I've got another story of this guy that I used to work with. His name was Jake, and I think he was a PR guy that I worked with at one of the casinos. Dude was drop dead gorgeous. The guy was had model quality good looks. Okay, 6-pack abs, winning smile, headlight blue eyes. Women would just drop their panties for him. They would open him. Like he's one of those dudes. Well, the problem with him was that he never was able to make his blue pill
Hold on a sec.
fantasies come true.
Sorry, I just had to mute that guy.
So he was very blue pill, and so he could get girls to sleep with him, but they would always like leave him, or they would fuck him, and they would be done with him because he was too beta. He was too needy. He was too clingy. He was always trying to. He was his looks were incongruent from what he was behaviorally showing them. So this is one of those things where it's like. Remember what we talked about? I think we talked about this on the RMG one time, was how you can sort of presume the sale or presume the fuck or presume the close at some point when you're running game, let's just say. And you can presume all of that, but your key is not to fuck things up, right? It's like you just go with it, and by the end of the night you'll end up with this chick, but that is unless you fuck it up. Well, that fucking it up aspect is you acting incongruous to what her preconception of you is. So that's where that comes from.
We have a super chat I'm going to hit here, but before we do, I'm going to mention to you guys, Scott has agreed to support the Redman Group. He's become our channel sponsor. Tactical Soap Company, as you can see here, is now sponsoring pretty much the Manosphere, and it's a company that doesn't kick men in the Johnson like some other men's companies do. We've seen in the last couple of weeks that try to sell you crap but kick you in the nuts at the same time. So we're very pleased to have Tactical Soap Company as a sponsor.
And I did get my my shaving kit, my shaving gear from bodybarber.com, BAWDY barber.com.
How do you like it?
I love it so far. I've only used it once, so I can't really give you like a full breakdown of it.
Yeah, mine's
it's awesome. Okay. You know, I'm not the kind of guy that uses, like, and I shave, but I'm not the guy that uses like the little brush and you get the beard soap and you do all that kind of, it's like this whole big ritual. And, you know, I just get like shaving cream or something, you know, some kind of, just do it and then shave and I'm done. You know, I don't make a big production out of it, but it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to have that little bowl, and it's like this little ritual thing that you got going on. I guess only guys do, right? Because we're the only ones that shave our face, or we should be. But fantastic stuff. It's a work of art. It's just absolute work of art.
Okay, cool. I look forward to checking it out when I get to the FC Mine. But back to the actual channel sponsor that's paying us to put their
that's fine. I know. I'm sorry. People were asking me about that before.
All right. Red Band Group Tactical Soap. Check out with RMG and you get 10% off. Again, guys, it really helps support the creation of the content on this channel. If you enjoy watching us, we broadcast every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Thursdays as well.
Yeah, and every other Thursdays as well. We're doing a Patriarchs edition every other Thursday now. So we did one last week in Orlando. We're doing one next week on a Hangout. Again, it's a father's type of broadcast. So if you've got kids and you want to optimize that, it's something worth checking out. Let me go to that super chat. Hang on, I got to scroll back up here. Where did it go?
Anthony put out that you put out that picture of you with the soap, right? With you and that broad.
Wait till you see the other stuff that comes out.
Oh man, I saw that. I was like, oh shit, here we go.
I might have been the only one filming soap commercials that evening.
Yeah,
those come out.
So super chat from Finland Mini says, some people say to have a healthy society, we have to get rid of feminism all the way back to the 1920s. Do we have to go that far? Do we just need some simplistic reforms? I'm going to say that we need a collapse. We need a complete shit hits the fan event to reset things. And I think it's going to be a while before that happens. I think personally, things are going to get a lot worse before they even get better. I don't see women giving up rights that, whatever it is that they've accomplished for themselves and turned into a supremacist movement, like a male hate movement that it's now become, where it's now toxic. It just keeps going in that direction. It's them going to and there's no logic behind it. There is no logic behind it. And you can't negotiate with insanity. Yeah. I mean, you really can't, but that's my view. And I want to hear you guys as well that are on panel.
My view is that things are going to get more volatile. So in some ways they're going to get worse. I think 2020 in the election cycle in America is going to be a really good example of that, like the gender war, as Rollo calls it. Yeah. They might also get better. I mean, the way Trump being president, in my opinion, has helped men and masculinity a lot, as well as the country, in my opinion. That's more political. But on a more cultural perspective, I feel a lot better as an entrepreneur and a young man. I feel like I have a president in the United States in office who doesn't hate me for being a man and has on occasion defended young men as a class, as a voting demographic, which I've never heard in my adult life at 30 years old. So
we've
that's
got a president that's actually taken lessons like what happened with Kavanaugh, and said, "Hey,
Yeah.
look, maybe we should, put a statute of limitations on Me Too's and bullshit like that."
Yeah. I heard him come out and say after the Kavanaugh thing, he flat out said on camera, it's a dangerous time to be a young man or young men in America today.
Mhm.
And I've never heard a president speak like defensively for young men like that. And it's true.
Mhm.
And I was like, damn, look at that. Obama would have never said that, or Bush, or any of these
Wow.
losers.
I think that we kind of covered this last Saturday on Redman Group, more or less. I'm of the opinion that there's never been any different waves of feminism. It has always been the same hate movement that has always been since 1849 in Seneca Falls, right? I think that it has just been interrupted by wars and cold wars and social unrest and just like sort of and technological advances and things like that, but it's still motivated by the same really the same retribution and restitution is what it's always been about. It's never been about equality, and I think that a lot of political elements have tried to attach themselves to that. So I think that's one of the reasons why we say, well, feminism is just like socialism. Yeah, it is, but I would say that none of that happens unless women are a certain way or men are a certain way. So if you want a little bit more background on that, I would say go to last week. We had a really good show last week too on Saturday with the full panel. We talked about that for quite a bit, but if you watch that, you'll find out that my opinion on this is I'm kind of on board with Rich here. I think there's going to be some sort of collapse, or there's going to be something. I understand that a lot of people want to say, well, all we got to do is just take away women's rights and we'll go back to normal. And I'm saying there's no going back. We don't go back. Okay. We only go forward. Is forward going to be better for you, or is forward going to be worse for you?
Yeah.
So I think that there's going to be something. We simply don't want to talk about the fact that we are already in a state of gender cold war with women, and it's only going to get. I've said this in my my State of the Manosphere address, is that it's only going to accelerate and intensify as we get into the 2020 election cycle. We already have 5 different female candidates on the Democratic side. Although I think I heard there was one guy who just not
Cory Booker.
Cory Booker, decided. Yeah, he decided, and I will tell you this: he won't make it. Well, first of all, they're already jumping on top of Kamala Harris. I think she's going to be the nominee already because she checks all the boxes off right now. It would not surprise me if Cory Booker got Me Too'd before this whole thing is over.
I want to add this too. I'm curious about technological advancements for men's sexuality that we haven't seen yet, but we anticipate. For example, like the sperm gel, or that gel that like prevents male birth control, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what kind of effects, and none of us I think know with 100% certainty what kind of effects technology like that's going to have. The same way female birth control was fucking massive. Like female birth control, I think Andrew the Private Man said before he died, was like probably the biggest thing that happened to women in culture over the past 100 years, even bigger than feminism on a political level. So that might have effects that are huge that we're not seeing. How they play out, I don't know, in 2023 or whenever the fuck it comes out.
Yeah, we have.
It's crazy, where we've actually arrived, because like you're talking about, hormonal birth control. I mean, we've actually reached a point now where abortion is now legal for late term, like up to the day of the delivery. So if the delivery date is tomorrow, a woman can legally have an abortion today in New York State. And that's murder. I mean, it's nothing short of murder. I mean, you can't take your freaking birth control pills on a daily basis that you got to carry to full term and then murder a child the day before it's supposed to be born. Like, give me a break. Okay,
remember when that, and Pat Campbell and I talked about this one the day it happened, but remember that guy, and I think he was in Colorado, and he ended up killing his wife, killing his 2 kids, and his wife was pregnant at the time.
Right.
I forget the dude's name now. I can't remember off, but then he tried to hide the bodies and everything. It's turned out to be this really weird situation. But the point I'm making is that the wife was pregnant, and we think the guy is a horrible monster because he killed his wife and their unborn child, right? So that's a double homicide, right?
Right, but it's okay when women
Are you sure that's not an abortion? Maybe he just wanted to abort the child, right?
A non-doctor abortion, yeah. I mean, what about Virginia? Was that Virginia? That governor was talking about killing a baby like after it's born, like 20 minutes, like flat out on radio. Did you guys see that?
Yeah,
Yeah, I heard about it.
yeah, it's I mean, it's the it's the 300 clause, right? I mean, if the baby's malformed and got a, you know, a finger growing out of its head or something like that, they throw the baby into the, you know, the pit or something, and that's really along those lines.
That had to be the most
But,
insane shit
yeah.
I've ever seen on camera come out of a governor's head or any politician in America on that level, like sitting office. That was insane. Like I was
Yeah.
like, wow.
Well, what got me was, I forget the Asian chick that was trying. She was the one who was introducing the bill, and then she had to go back and I think she produced a YouTube video to sort of explain what it is that she was thinking, because I don't know how you explain it any differently than what she was. She was asked, is, you know, point blank, is this what you mean it is? Is this like killing the child 60 seconds before it is actually delivered through the birth canal, right? And she said yes. And, you know, of course, everybody, and rightfully so, piles onto this girl. And of course, what does she do? She goes on and she tries to, you know, scrambles to save face for it. But if you notice at the on the tweet that she sent out, I forget her name, but she sent out this tweet with the video attached, and at the bottom of it, it's hashtag I stand with women. That's what it said at the bottom of it. I'm like, so women are behind this? All women are behind your concept of murder? And what that is it's drawing ideological lines. It's saying, if you're with women, you're with this. And that's that's why I put it on the gender war hashtag, because that is a declaration of what the female side of the gender war believes in, or at least that's what they're supposed to believe in. I'm not saying all women actually believe that, but I'm just saying that's what they expect all women to believe.
Yeah.
You got a question there in the group chat from Patreons, Rollo, from Marcus Aurelius. Yeah, do you want to read that off?
Okay, okay, I see it. Rollo, is that the one? Rollo, I'm curious to know why you dislike Carl Jung, and the idea of anima and animus so much. Okay, this would probably take an entire show for me to really bear out. I see Carl Jung, I see Sigmund Freud, I see Maslow and Skinner, and a lot of these guys that we sort of deify as psychological luminaries of our time. Great, fine, but understand that Carl Jung died in 1961. He had no access to the kind of technology or the science or the information that we have in this day and age, that a first-year psychology student has access to more information than Carl Jung had in his entire lifetime. Okay, so I think what we've done with Carl Jung's theories, and let's just call them that because they are theories, remember, you have to realize, guys, like I said, it would take me a long time to really do this justice, but the biggest problem I have is that feminism and sort of the ideological left have taken his theories and made them gospel, in like sort of a secular gospel. We believe that, like, here's an easy one. We believe that men and women, or that, well, men and women, because we believe in this blank slate bullshit, right? We believe men and women have an element of masculine and feminine in their psyches. I'm saying, well, that first of all is a theory. That's never been proven, and there's a lot of evidence that proves against it right now that Carl Jung did not have access to back when he was doing his theories. Okay, so he did not have access to, like, evolutionary psychology, the anthropology that we have, the neurological sciences that we have. We know that men and women's brains are different. We know that we have different propensities. If you look at Steven Pinker's stuff, you know, men are interested in things, women tend to be interested in people. Why? Well, because there are biological and hormonal and just physical differences between the sexes. And I think that what Carl, and maybe the feminist left or the progressives have taken his theories and sort of bastardized them, but the fact remains is that his theories tend to be more spiritual based, more astrology based, more mystical. I mean, the guy wanted to study astrology and mysticism before he died. I mean, that's
Rollo,
what
we should
really do something.
You, Carl from Black Apple Logic should do a debate on Carl Jung, because he's a big fan of Jung.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
and I get why. I'm just saying that I think we need to live in a post-Jung psychological society rather than like just deifying everything that the guy says. I mean, there are other psychologists in the world besides Carl Jung.
Yeah, just because somebody wrote something a few years ago doesn't mean it's true today, right?
Right. Well, I mean, he didn't, like I said, there are first year psych students today that have access to more information than he had. So it was all guesswork. It was all trying to put like,
Totally.
and hey, I do the same thing, right? I connect dots. That's all I do. But
Yeah, we
I'm
always update
connecting
our
dots.
beliefs after a while.
But I'm connecting dots with different information and different empirical evidence than Carl Jung had.
Totally. We got another question here from Alex, one of the patrons, and he says, any predictions as to what degree will public misandry, example, the shaving ad, oh, hang on a sec. I got another, push it down. Stop typing, guys. I can't read it. We'll get to the next couple of years. I don't know, like, is there a limit to the kicking in the Johnson companies will do to men to try to sell like products that were once masculine? What was that PETA ad that we saw where they were like gluing eggplants and onions to guys as fake genitalia? Yeah. Like, I mean, come on. I mean, where is this going to go? Like, literally, where is it going to go?
They're probably going to push and push and push till they hit a boundary. That's how abusers tend to work,
Well, they definitely hit a boundary with that shaving product ad because a lot of guys spoke up about that. I mean, there was an equal amount of, blue-pilled feminized cucks that also said, what's wrong, guys? I don't understand. It's just trying to say, be a nice guy sort of thing. No, dude, it's a hell of a lot more than that.
Because it takes some sort of intellectual curiosity. It takes work to be educated. It's easier to just say, hey man, that was just telling guys to be good guys, man. Well, and if you disagree, you must be a dick, right?
Yeah. Wait till you guys see the ads that are coming out for soap products.
Yeah. I know. Well, you know what I was going to say is, and I wish I would have got to this with Pat today. They did Pat's show this morning, but I was going to say, watch the Super Bowl commercials on Sunday, and you will see. You want to see the new lines that are going to be drawn in the sand in the gender war. Wait till
Super Bowl ads with the gender war tied in, in front of all these men.
I wonder, what about this idea? Because you guys have probably seen the movie V for Vendetta, 2005, Natalie Portman, or whoever the guy was that did it.
Yeah, that was an old one, yeah.
I wonder if, politically in Britain, you could see this going on, but I mean it from a feminist perspective in America. But if you look at Britain, I wonder if that country is getting pushed so fucking hard to the left that they're going to like whiplash back to the right, kind of like that movie did. And in America, I wonder if this feminist crap and this gender war is going to keep pushing us and fucking pushing us and pushing us, and there'll be a snapback or a whiplash of some sort. I want to make like a positive, peaceful future for the United States, like a masculine future, like I talked about at the convention. But it might just get out of control or something. I don't know. Like a shit hit the fan scenario, collapsing a lot of stuff. It might have a really harsh backlash to something like super masculine, like women actually losing the right to vote, or who knows what, man. I don't know. That's what comes to mind.
I don't think that women are ever going to lose the right to vote. I think that ship has sailed. Okay. Now, would I love to see something like that happen? Sure, I would love to.
Fix a hell of a lot, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. And I understand why it's such a popular idea amongst different tribes of the manosphere, let's just say. But I was going to say is that I think that, like I said, that ship has kind of sailed. And if you watch the Saturday episode of RMG, when I was saying, maybe I flew off the handle a little bit too much there, but it's like, we're fucked. I mean, we are fucked. And that's the thing is, like, we want to throw this out there. Well, all we got to do is just take away women's rights, right? Maybe there's even a non-violent way of doing that, right? Maybe if we change enough guys' minds, right? If we red pill enough dudes to make that change. Hell, that's all I've been doing for a very long time is, trying to work from the bottom up, each one tell one, and make that change. And I think that a lot of guys in today's gynocentric society, they can't ignore it anymore. It takes even more intense ways of blue pill conditioning guys to get the same effect that feminism has always had on men. It was easy before because when we put out hormonal birth control, it was like, hey guys, free sex. You don't have to worry about getting a girl pregnant. All you got to do is sign over all of your rights or all of your interests in your own paternity. That's all you have to do, guys. All you have to do is just not be concerned about any of that kind of stuff, and you can have sex with whoever you want. And that was like that was the deal. Well, that was back in, let's say, 1968, my birthday, right? 50 years ago. And so now here we are 50 years later, and the social contract is so fucked that guys are going, you know what? With all the things that have happened since the sexual revolution, with all the things going on with Me Too, with all of you can't ignore the gender war anymore. And so what happens is there needs to be an escalation on the side of women to try to convince these guys, because it's not even red pill guys like us that are waking these dudes up. It's women themselves. It's watching movies. It's listening to music. It's reading the internet every day. You see something new every day.
Some Brett Kavanaugh, some innocent choir, church boy, choir boy getting hammered like that.
And you can go back 30, 40 years. You can like I've said, it's funny. I got to that point in my speech where I was like saying, one of my fears is that a girlfriend that I knew was one of my 40 plus notch count will come out of the woodwork somehow and say, that Rollo Tomasi guy, that's not his real name. He's so and so, and he raped me when I was 22 years old. And that shit would hold up. Just because they want to shut me up.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
It's unignorable now. Go ahead.
Yeah, we got a super chat from William. Thanks for that, brother. It's $10. He says, read Practical Female Psychology and the Mode 1 books recently. Mode 1's by Alan Roger Curry. The Madonna / whore complex came up a lot. I can see how blue pill guys are affected by it. Does the view change from the red pill lens? I've not read that book. Has anybody read that book, Practical Female Psychology?
No, not yet. Although I have had it suggested to me. However, I have, as you might guess, I have an essay about the Madonna whore complex.
Yeah, link that there. Puss in Boots in the Patreon chat. You said you had a question. I don't know if you have a mic, but if you unmute yourself, you can. You're currently muted, but if you unmute yourself, you can just ask it or just type it in the chat there. We'll probably be wrapping up soon. We usually do these for about an hour or so.
Okay, I just put that in there. I put the Madonna whore link on the chat.
Let's see if we got any.
We got another one here. Just this will be really quick. I forget who it was. It was like $2 super chat here or something. It says Hormonal is written by a woman. Yes, Dr. Marty Hasselton. She's one of the leading researchers, particularly when it comes to intersexual dynamics, about evolutionary psychology. It's a great book, but you're going to have to read past the her trying to kind of establish her feminist street cred. Okay, the reason she does that is because feminists hate her guts, because she reveals a lot of these secrets that feminists would much rather have kept secret. Okay, she is one of the primary research scientists when it comes to ovulatory shift, which is something that I've talked about for quite some time. He says, by a woman, I bought it yesterday. Is it trustworthy source of information about sexual dynamics? Yes, it is, particularly with respect to hypergamy in the physical sense. If you've watched my 21 convention speech about hypergamy, micro to macro, I use a lot of her information in that speech. So yes, it is very much reliable. But again, you're going to have to it's kind of written for women. So it's all kind of cutesy and tries to, appeal to the most mature teenager in the room, I guess. But yeah, it is.
Oh, man.
And I highly suggest it. But again, you're just going to have to read past the feminist bullshit.
Going back to the feminist topic from a few minutes ago, I was thinking feminists have a lot of trouble outside of single moms. Feminists have a lot of trouble, and women who accept feminist, indoctrination, a lot of them, like these millennial chicks, are not reproducing. They're hitting 35, 40 and beyond with 0 babies. Yeah. And they're weeding themselves out of the gene pool essentially. So I was kind of wondering, I wonder if like Carl from Black Up Logic, he talks about this, how huge problems sometimes resolve themselves in ways you don't anticipate. So I agree with you guys. This shit looks really bad. Like, we're on the same page. But yeah, I still wonder sometimes if things are going to happen, they're like black swan events that we're just not anticipating. Like, say some huge chunk of millennial women, an entire generation that just don't reproduce.
Well, if you think about it, guys, when was the last time the United States or even the West was united together in agreement as a country, and it was around 9/11. And even that only lasted for a couple months, right? But
Yep.
like that was a pretty significant event that united, like the nation and even Canada. Like I'm a Canadian guy, like, I saw the same thing here, sort of thing. Like there was a lot of support for that.
Yeah.
And what did that last? A couple months? Like it's got to be something even greater than that. It's got to be something even more significant than that if there's going to be a full-on reset.
That's a really good point, because I can guarantee you something like that will happen this century, in my lifetime at least.
Oh,
probably
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, in the last century, we saw a couple world wars, Vietnam wars, which create a lot of divide. But it was really the Second World War was like the last significant unification of humanity. I mean, if you read the book, my headphones are dying. I got to switch the battery out. Go ahead.
I'll read this. Puss Boots has a question here we can get into while you're doing that. Puss Boots. Thanks, Anthony. This is Brad from Norway. I asked a question in the chat last time about girls with daddy issues. I got half of my answer. I have some questions because I want to understand. Most of the girls here have daddy issues. They chase when you ignore, and they back off when you show interest. Question: why does this happen, and why did they react negatively to masculinity? They date guys with low SMV. Why do they follow hypergamy like other girls? Is there any book about game? He uses red pill principles. This guy's English is not a first language, I guess.
Apparently.
There's just some pretty broad questions. If you could be any more specific about this, like these are things you should be able to read about, or probably in Red Pill 101 on Rolla's channel. He has a show that digs into like fundamental concepts like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do a lot when I'm on my Sunday shows with Pat. We try to make it as remedial as possible so that like guys who are just getting into this or they just started reading my book, they can get it. I think the first thing you have to understand is like guys, and I don't know how things are in Norway, but I think that a lot of times guys want to blame women's just bad character or their bad behaviors on something, and the most common answer is, oh, she's got daddy issues. I feel pretty confident in saying this is that not all women in Norway have daddy issues. I'm pretty confident about
like
that.
Most women in Norway are probably raised in a feminist household
Most
or a
likely.
single mother household, which would create daddy issues. So I understand what he's saying.
Yeah, I mean, that's also yeah, but okay, I get what you're saying, but is it because they're? I mean, when somebody says like daddy issues, I think strippers. Okay, I think of like an abusive father who's father's there. I think there's a really bad model of masculinity for that woman. And then, I mean, I guess you could also classify daddy issue. I mean, what are daddy issues? I think maybe that's the things we need to clarify. But
well, hang on, look at the second part of his question. He focuses on they date low SMV guys. So that to me is just kind of standard alpha fucks beta bucks. Those boyfriends that they're dating, they're not fucking them for the most part. They're fucking dudes on the side, and the dude is just kind of like a like arm candy or something like that. You know what I mean? Like a purse.
Well, women are always going to have orbiters. So are they actually having sex with that guy, or is it just,
I mean, Norway's right near Sweden, right? Feminist shithole numero uno.
Yeah, that is true.
So if a lot of those girls are dating like beta dudes just to have a boyfriend on Facebook, and then
it's in the group chat. I'm thinking about fathers who are not there for them. So absent fathers from the household.
Absent fathers. But what about abusive ones? What about dads who are assholes? My dad was an asshole.
Well, there's also fathers that were in the household but were just a piece of furniture and didn't engage with the kids too, right? I mean,
yeah, but they're okay. So by that definition, every woman has daddy issues. Okay. I mean, so what do you do about that? Well, I don't know. I was just gonna say is I think that maybe you need to become the guy that shows her what dominant positive masculinity is, what conventional masculinity is. Be something that she, be the guy. One of the reasons, like say neg hits or pickup artist stuff works on women is because it flips a script on them. It's something else that they're not accustomed to. If you go getting a backhanded compliment, or there's all kinds of different ways of setting yourself apart. So, but at the end of the day, you've got to be the guy who is actually conventionally masculine and set yourself apart from what these other guys are. It's very simple. I mean, I don't even.
Well, let me point out here too, is the only non-father in the group, but both of you have daughters and you're both really engaged in their lives. So obviously not every girl has like literal daddy issues. I think you're both doing a good job from what I could see from a distance. So let's harken back on that. Not every girl is totally fucking shit show. Yeah.
But the other thing he asked here is, are there any books about game who use red pill principles? Can you think of any guys
books
that
tie in game to red pill
Well, see,
principles?
I get this a lot because guys want to say, well, is there a movie? Is there a blog? Is there a book? Is there
a game by Neil Strauss kind of ties all that together,
but see,
right?
the thing about the game is that it's really more about entertainment. It's not some, I mean, it presents some of the techniques that they use, but it's really more to entertain you as opposed to being like sort of an instructions manual as to how to do something. I think there's a lot of guys that I think it kind of depends on how that guy is and what his personality is and how he learns. Because a guy like, say, I can refer this guy to like Goldman, right? Goldman could teach him something, but maybe, Goldman is a little different than say somebody like Christian McQueen. Okay, well, maybe you like Christian, maybe you want Nick Krauser and Day Game is your thing. I think it really kind of depends on the person and what it is. I mean, the fundamentals are always going to stay the same, but the techniques are individual to the guy.
So, here's what I would say. I mean, there's some people posting, Christian McQueen or books by other people in the manosphere, but my view on it is, if you read Rollo's first two books, like a bare minimum, at least 2 or 3 times, there's enough in there for you to update your beliefs so that you can behave differently on the sexual marketplace when you're approaching, dating, whatever it is that you're doing, that you can adopt for your own personality, right? If you like. The problem that I have personally with the whole pickup community, like the PUA, RSD shit, is it's like, here's your line, regurgitate it 50 times, and you should close at least 1 or 2. It's a numbers game, blah, blah, blah.
Rote memorization.
Yeah. But it doesn't have any long-term sort of use in my estimation. Enough people have put here in the public chat game, or Roosh's new book. I've listened to it. It's good. It's not great in my estimation. I think Rollo's work is far better if you want to navigate life with a red pill lens. It deals more with understanding nature rather than this is how you shower and wash your Johnson sort of thing.
Right. I'm of the with tactical soap, right?
This is how you wash your armpits sort of thing, so you don't smell.
Dude, I feel like I'm days away from ending up as a meme on the internet, like permanent meme on the internet. Like
wash your Johnson. Sit up straight, clean your room, and wash your Johnson.
What was that Roosh called? His Venus? Where the fuck did that come from? Where did somebody in the chat tell me what sense does Venus make? I have no idea.
On this topic, I got a really cool YouTube comment of the day that I tweeted out of Rollo, and it's this, and it relates exactly. We're talking about the game and the red pill. It said 21 Convention has arrived at the deep core theory with Rollo. I was there in 2012, and we had game but no theory. It was like working in the dark. Rollo turned the light on, and now we have understanding and tools to engineer our success anywhere, anytime. I don't know this dude, but I do trust he attended in 2012 based on how he's writing this. And I think I've seen the comment, this username, guy comment a couple times. And this is exactly what I was feeling. This is why I first found Rollo's work in 2015 before like an official introduction like a year later in 2016. I was frustrated. I was even married. And independent of that, just building a conference for men, I was like, we have these pickup speakers and this is pretty cool, but there's no foundation for why and how to tie it all together. And it was like kind of like in the Matrix movie, there's that thing, like that splinter in your mind. And it was frustrating. I'm like, how do I help these guys get better game? Like I went out and approached thousands of times. I read all these books. I know all these coaches and I can pick up women. I don't need to at the moment back then, but it was frustrating. It's really cool to see that, Rollo. Just like Rich is saying, they do need, the foundations are much more important than the specifics of like.
And I believe that too. And this is where I sort of butt heads with a lot of pickup artists. A lot of guys think that I'm a pickup artist. No, I'm not. I just go and I sort of sort it out, and I let you know why pickup artists' techniques work and why they do and what they don't. I think that my opinion of game is this. Okay, I think game is the necessary practical, whereas red pill is the necessary theoretical, and each one is incomplete without the other. So if you're all about game and rote memorization, you get just what Rich just said. You're kind of like this empty shell, and maybe you can repeat all the right lines and ape all the right behaviors and be congruent, right? And and know the right things to say. But once you get past that, then all you are is an act. And that's the first thing I talked about in my book, was like, a lot of guys want to think that they're like these social robots, and that's all pickup artist teaches you. Well, no, pickup artist teaches you, at least it gets you out there, and it gets you, it gets you,
It builds confidence.
it builds
something.
confidence, but more so it proves concept. Okay. And the concept is red pill. So if I'm saying something, I'm I can't do these things. I can go out and observe them, because that's what I do for a living. I'm out in social situations. I see things. I'm, like I said, I'm a very observant, correlative scientist in that regard. But I think that I will never entirely dismiss game, because I think it is in the important practical side to the theoretical red pill side, and then it also helps you with other aspects of your life as well. It's not just about picking up chicks. I mean, it's living. Maybe it's living with your wife or your girlfriend. Maybe it's dealing with your daughter. I mean, there are game aspects that have a lot of other utilities besides that. You're never going to learn that unless you go out there and you prove concept. And that's what
I think that's really important, because most guys understand game based on their immediate needs. They're like, I'm horny, I want to fuck girls, they don't want to fuck me. That's a problem.
Right.
That's where I was at 17 when I started 21 Con. But what you're talking about when I hear it is you're trying to utilize or understand women in total, whether it's like understanding your daughter, your wife, a girlfriend, your mother-in-law, your sister, whatever the fuck. So I think that's a much healthier, more important way to address all these issues. But most guys, like the RSD chodes, don't want to do that. The RSD's NPCs. Bang, bang, bang.
Let me just add this, because I actually have a guy in my men's community a few months ago. I think it was back in the fall or the summer, that went to an RSD event in Vegas, and here's where it ended up for him. He ended up with one-itis. He did his 50 or whatever his, statutory cold approaches were. He had a bad close rate. He found one girl that was attracted to him, and he managed to go out with a couple times, but then he literally ended up with one-itis for her. A lot of the guys that are red pill aware in the community, started to call it out and say, hey, look, it looks like you're starting to lean into this area. And it's like, you don't really know what to do. Great. You closed, you made the approach, you got a number, and you got a date, and here's a picture of her, but you're totally putting her up on a pedestal and you're infatuated with her. That's not going to work. So like that, in my estimation, is where PUA is going to end you up if you don't take it for what it's worth.
Yeah,
it's just,
that's all there is.
It's just
to
confidence building. It's, having the nuts to walk up to somebody and, hey, how do you like that new Apple laptop? You digging it, sort of thing.
And I always tell guys that, if all you're about is game, that's exactly what's going to happen to you. You'll be able to get any girl, and that's the problem. You'll get any girl, and so you'll end up in what I call the children with dynamite situation. It's like they get their dream girls, but the shit blows up in their face because they don't know the nature of women. They only know how to repeat the scripts, and they only know how to be a certain way. And that does not surprise me whatsoever about the guy catching one-itis, because that's exactly what Mystery has done for the most of his life.
Same scenario. Yeah.
Exact same thing. And because he's trying to make his blue pill dreams, his Disney princess horseshit blue pill ideals come true with red pill awareness, and that's never going to work. You need to create red pill goals for your red pill awareness. Dump blue pill, dump beta, your beta cell, kill the beta, and move on from there. Don't try to use, and this is what guys do, is because and Anthony was saying the same thing. They want that formula. They want that magic pill that makes them thin and tan and hot and irresistible to women. It's the same shit. I mean, women love this same thing too. They would love to have a magic pill to make them thin, and they don't have to do the work or do anything like that. It's human nature.
It's like instant pain relief. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah, they want to play it on God. The game on God mode, and they think that it'll still be fun. Well, the problem with that is all about game. That is all in the practical. There's nothing in the theoretical. So you don't understand any of that. You're going to get burned. You're going to get, and might even become suicidal. Now, the opposite of that is if you just read my book and highlight it and do all this stuff, I'm happy for you. I'm glad it's a living text. Great. I'm flattered that everybody uses it as the Bible for the manosphere, but you still need to get out. You still need to go out there and practice this shit. And you still need to go out and have at least the practical side of it, so that it shows you and it proves to you what's in the book is for real. Like I said, it's proof of concept. So I still think one without the other is incomplete.
All right, we got one last super chat before we wind down the show. Redman and on for people here who have got their wives or LTRs in the epiphany phase. My question is, did you expect to be the plan B guy since she was in her epiphany? If so, how did you deal with it? I have a friend that married a woman when she was in her epiphany phase, and he was plan B. Usually women marry their plan B. They don't usually marry the alpha that they pine for. They don't marry the best that they can get. They usually have to settle, or they look around for the best that they can get at that time. That's what I've noticed anyway. What do you guys think real quick?
You want to go?
I think Gillette's making the best beta a woman can get.
Oh yeah, they're definitely making the best couple a woman can get. Yeah.
Ha ha ha. I didn't have too much to add on it.
I was just going to say is that there is, and this has been the way, this has been a truth ever since I've been part of what's now called the manosphere, is that everyone wants to build a better beta. They want, and I've heard women say this before, I want a beta with the side of alpha.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, you don't get that, because if a guy is beta, is predominantly beta, and you see him sort of alpha up in certain situations, he's not believable. Okay, so he sounds like he's sulking, or he sounds like he's angry, he's having a little pissy bitch fit, right? If he stands up for himself, if he even has this flash of alpha, it doesn't seem authentic. Whereas if a guy who is predominantly alpha and is sort of that stoic kind of, he makes himself his own mental point of origin, and then on a rare occasion he shows a little bit of sensitivity, or shows a little bit of vulnerability, that seems more authentic and more, and whether it is or it's not, it's just, this is the appearance, is that it's more believable. In fact, it's more endearing for women if a guy who's predominantly one way or the other, if he flashes that kind of rare instance of vulnerability, then women dig on that. But I think that what a mistake that I see, particularly with purple pill guys, is they think that they can do that. They think that they can build a better beta, and that you can still be your old self, and you don't have to kill your beta. You just have to alpha it up just a little bit, and it's like that alpha isn't believable.
So I have something practical I can kind of layer on here with Rolo at the end here. So I have a rule that I usually follow like 80% of the time. And that's that whatever a woman openly voices that she wants is probably the exact or approximate opposite of what she actually wants. So when a woman says she wants a beta with a side alpha, what she really wants is kind of like what Rolla says. She really wants the alpha male who has like a tiniest bit of beta that is like endearing, as Rolla calls it, that she sees every once in a while, like candy. She gets candy from it. But that's predominantly she wants someone who she falls into the frame with. And that could be for a night, or that could be for a week or a month or a year or whatever it is. So whatever she voices that she wants the fucking opposite. If she's, if she's responding to you in a text, or it's in person or whatever, look through it and see beyond it. Especially if they use the word not. I don't want this. They do want that. I don't want you to choke me. She wants to be choked. I don't want you to pull my hair. She wants her hair to be pulled really fucking bad. Now you need to play. Now, obviously, in this Me Too era, you need to be fucking,
be careful,
really
though.
Proceed with caution, like a hot coffee or something. Yeah. Cover your ass, keep it legal, keep it safe. But
I know we ought to do is we ought to dedicate a show sometime to like how a guy can mitigate his risk. Because that's that's one thing I get from certain aspects of the manosphere. It's always, but it's the juice isn't worth the squeeze, but they still want the juice, right? But well, how do you go about getting that juice for the minimum amount of risk to yourself? I mean, people will say, well, you need to carry a body cam around with you or something like that. I said, again, it's hard to say just alpha up and be in control of the frame and all this other shit, because like a lot of guys don't know how to do that. They simply don't have the it's not even a concept that they understand well enough. So it's just they throw everything out, the baby out with the bathwater.
Or it's not even enough. Alphas get screwed over too with this stuff.
They do.
But
there has to be an acceptable
state, right?
There has to be an acceptable amount of risk. What is that?
I got something to close out with too.
I gotta say, you got a quick announcement, right? Or closeout?
Yeah, so I should have mentioned at the beginning of the show, we have sold more tickets to the Patriarch Convention than any other convention in history in a 24-hour window.
Nice.
So we're crushing it. And one of those was to RMG as well. A couple of other guys, Hunter, Rich sold some. So it's fucking awesome. And if you guys want it, the event is going to be capped at 400 guys. And so far, we're crushing it. And I'm really excited about that. I'm still.
Do you have
do
do you have a link that you can post in the chat, Anthony, for Redman Group if somebody wants to buy a ticket through that link?
Absolutely. I will put it. Boom, there it is.
Yeah, drop it in there.
And for the 375 people watching this, if you haven't heard this already, Elliot Hulse is now confirmed for the.
And he's about to full promote it to like hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
And they're early bird right now. They just launched, and that's going to go till about February 16th, 17th.
Yeah.
So you give about 2 weeks to. Yeah, so price is cheap right now. It's $9.99, and in about 2 weeks it's going to bump. And it's probably going to sell out too at some point after that. So get your ticket, get it now, save half off, kick ass.
You know, I was going to say it was nice in 2017 when like I could like sell a lot of tickets, but now we have so many dudes on this, and the popularity has come up so much. It's like, everybody's selling tickets right now. It's great.
Yeah.
Too, when they buy tickets through this link, they support Redman Group. That specific link in the chat right now. It also means the video description.
Yes, definitely support Redman Group, gentlemen. Let's talk about the Patreon before we wind down the episode and call it a night. We've got a bunch of Patreons kind of watching live, and I know they're going to watch the recording lately. We create this Q&A session specifically because Patreon support what we do. So if you like what you're watching, there's like 372 of you guys watching. We get usually 10,000, 15,000 views per episode. We know it's having an impact on dudes' lives, so we greatly appreciate the support. It helps us put together everything that we're putting out there for you guys. So, you know, show the love, share it, you know, share the episodes if you haven't got the money to support on Patreon. If you do, we definitely appreciate it. It certainly helps us keep putting the stuff out and working with you guys to make the world a better place. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about peak hypergamy, like some batshit crazy stuff that we need to kind of get into, which we'll dive into tomorrow.
I'm glad we're finally doing this too, because I want to clear up a lot of misconceptions.
Yeah, there's misconceptions, there's confusions. It'll be a long discussion. So we'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for a regular Saturday episode. Who's on it? Me, Rollo. We've got Carl,
Ryan, and Donovan. I think that's just the regular crew. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we'll see you guys tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace out.
Peace.